As a last minute thing, beyond here, as a last minute point of order here, we're being told that we can only speak on one. Hang on one second. We can do both at once, right?
Yeah, because I went back to part about so just in case this happened.
It's talking about. Tell me if I'm. No, it's all right. It's fine. Hang on one sec. Let's make sure they're all set. All right.
Hi, we just found out from a spokesperson that we're very limited in our speech. Obviously, this is a record turnout, probably the most that's ever turned up for a board vetted meeting, and we're being told we're still limited to the same 15 minutes. We're also being told that we're limited by subject, that are only allowing one representative to speak per subject. Well, my speech is probably in excess of 16 minutes and touches on a whole bunch of subjects that are important to us. So I don't feel that we're being adequately represented, given enough time to voice our concerns. And given the turnout here, it's ridiculous that we're only limited to the regular 15 minutes. I don't know why they feel it's unnecessary to hear from this group of people. It's enormous.
What would you say is the general consensus, the feeling amongst this group in terms of people who spoke?
Total lack of clarity, no transparency at all. I understand they can't speak about investigations, but they can work around the subject. Listen, great leaders know how to lead. And the problem here is that we're not finding we have great leaders, at least in the superintendent's position. And this position is not just my opinion. It's I have consulted with dozens and dozens of people. I have talked to board members of past. I have talked to witnesses who have been directly affected by the actions of the superintendent. What I will have to say is not my personal opinion. It's trying to amalgamate everything that I've heard from literally dozens of people. In fact, just a couple of days ago, the speech that I had here was presented in front of over 50 people, and I had unanimous approval to say, yes, go ahead and say what you have to say. It represents what we are desired.
So you're going to be the one to speak?
No, obviously not, because we're being limited. If I can only speak on one topic, people don't want to talk about both the board and about the superintendent. They're saying I can't. That's woefully inadequate.
So is the vibe, generally speaking, that this was all a joke, kind of buckled, or what?
We don't know. We know that may be one part of the investigation, but they aren't telling us. If indeed it was that subject that you have just mentioned about, allegedly taken, if that is the case, let me ask you a question. Some of you are too young to understand this. When Ralph Cramden of the Honeymooners said to his wife Alice, "To the moon," did you really think he was going to give his wife? Did you really think that was being represented? If I had a banana here and I went bang bang, would you really feel threatened by a banana? Humor is context. If say Karen was running for president, and we were to say, "What's your opinion of Karen as president?" Would these responses not be different? Oh yeah, she'd make a great president. Versus she'd make a great president. Do you understand that context matters? And so when you're using a sense of humor, you're actually communicating better. I think you make it important. They're insisting that you're making it less clear and that's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
So what are some of the key points you want to get out there, given that you have a little bit more time than perhaps the board will give you?
There's reason to believe that some board members are compromised, and that if you look at previous board meetings, you will see that some board members are voting on issues where their spouses are involved. That's a clear conflict of interest. Why is a person like that voting no? That board member should be excused. There may be other allegations of other board members that have other direct connections to this specific case or investigation that's going on. I dare not comment on that because we don't have enough information. There's not enough clarity. But what we do know is there's plenty of evidence, because I have spoken to many people that have been directly affected by the superintendent, that they feel there's a heavy-handedness in actually a terror campaign. Many people are willing to come out and speak to the board if they launch their own investigation into matters, because then they fear that their jobs are not threatened. They completely fear, I'm going to repeat this, completely are terrorized by the superintendent. Again, not my opinion. People that are telling me these things, they're absolutely terrorized, and they just don't want this anymore. record numbers of resignations, record numbers of people put on administrative leave. This guy has only been around for what, 8, 9 months or something like that, and we have 9 or 10 people on administrative leave. I mean, it's absurd.
So your opinion is this is not kind of an isolated situation?
Yeah, correct. My personal opinion is that something fishy is going on here. The numbers alone speak to that.
And what are your thoughts on the fact that, like, hey, there was supposed to be this musical at a certain time that's been delayed? I hear the principal's back, but the stores is not.
I know that the modus operandi from what I have heard from people is that he pressures people into signing documents before a board meeting in an effort to pressure them to resign rather than face the consequences. Because if a board member, not a board member, if a staff member resigns, there's nothing the board can do. And that's when we're trying to see people delay signing any of those things and try to get a new board investigation to look at all. I don't trust the appointees, and many people, not just me, most people here have told me they don't trust the appointees of the current superintendent. I believe he's using these as pawns to sort of insulate himself.
Do we know why the principal is back at work, but the choir teacher is not back?
We do not know. It's possible he might have signed something that, it's impossible. We don't know. There's no clarity, and I understand maybe during the time of investigation, clearly the investigation must be over the superintendent, and we haven't heard anything. That seems to be the main complaint. No one trusts the superintendent. He doesn't show clarity. Last Friday, a week and a half ago on Friday, when the students walked out, he could have led. He could have come out and eased their fears. He didn't lead. All he did was essentially make matters worse.
So, fair to say the general consensus here amongst these folks gathered here tonight in large numbers is a lack of trust in specifically the superintendent.
I would say that's correct. Some question some board members too. But by and large, I think most of the community trust the board members. These are some of the most outstanding people I personally know. Yes, yeah. But again, I'm not sure if they have all the facts. Therein lies the thing. When an investigation is done, it's done by the superintendent with his appointees, and we don't know if the board is getting their really first-hand knowledge. I think they need to launch their own investigation into all of these situations.
I'd like to speak a little bit about this.
Sure. Let me just. Okay, go ahead. I gotta get your name, but I can get that.
My name's Karen Dimby, and our daughter was a former student at the school. And we specifically have been involved in all this because we just feel it's wrong. We're not related to any of these people. We're not friends even with any of these people. But we've heard all these things that are going on at all these rallies. So we both prepared speeches. We were asked ahead of time what our topics would be on. And now we're told that we can't speak on the same topic. So I have to not speak so he can speak. And I wanted to let one of the kids involved in the play, who was there when this whole incident began, I wanted to let them speak. So I'm giving a copy of my speech to the board. They will hopefully read it and understand.
Well, not hopefully. I think the board needs to read it. Yes. In fact, that's one of my questions. Before I start, I'm going to ask, can I be assured that the complete speech will be read by the board? And acted.
Oh, wow.
So,
someone who incidentally was not injured, was not no a direct witness to the alleged incident.
Okay, all right. We want to come to you first, though. Can I get your first and last name?
Ron Chiminelli. CHIMINELLI.
And parent, resident, community member,
and residents.
Okay, and your name again?
Karen Bambi, KARENBANWIE, and I'm also a community member and resident.
Okay.
Former student.
Do you all have any more questions for these folks?
Can you just reiterate what we saw up here? The person who was talking is very mumbled, very muffled. It was hard for me.
But there's always an executive session that occurs, and some decisions are made. So who knows? Maybe they come out and they change their mind and maybe allow more speech. I don't know. That's not what's indicated. We were immediately approached, called up to ask what we were going to talk about, and you start excluding people that are overlapping the topics. I don't think that's correct. how can I just have one topic? I can speak as to many topics.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to get out that we didn't?
For the time being, no. We'll decide if they give us an adequate.
We'll see. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks for your patience. First question is, can I get your first and last name just spell?
My name is Marcus McGregor, M-A-R-C-U-S, McGregor, M-C-G-R-E-G-O-R.
Choreographer on Cinderella.
Choreographer in Cinderella.
Now, are you also a full-time staff member here at the school?
I'm not a full-time staff member in school. I come to the school every year for the last 9 years and choreograph all the shows that we do here.
So, what's going on here? Is this just a joke?
So, what happened is, it was during our spring, the break, the fall break that they have in February. We take that week and we come in every day and work on the show. We paint the sets, we do everything. And the kids backstage, I'm trying to choreograph, they're talking, and we always say, oh, keep it down, keep it down, keep it down. And Michelle jokingly said, don't let me pull out the tape. And the little girl Maddie came over and said, "Oh, that's not going to shut me up." She picked up the tape, she put it on her mouth, and she said, "I can still talk," and she took it off, and we all laughed about it.
And you saw the student.
I saw the student with the tape on herself do like this, say, "I can still talk." Take it off her mouth.
And that's what she told us as well.
And that's exactly what she did. And so we all laughed about it, but we kept going, rehearsal. And the girl who went home and complained about it, whose father sits on the board, the Oswald, went home, her name was Molly, went on and to tell her mother, Jennifer, and who made the complaint against it. And this is not the first complaint that she's made against us. It's a number of them. And it's funny because I thought they were friends of mine, but clearly I know they're not. And I'm saying it on television on this because I want them to know.
So I'm sorry, was this the student's mother who made this complaint or another?
The student's mother put in the complaint. No, Molly Oswald's mother put in the complaint.
The mother of another student.
Who's also a teacher at the school, and also, she, her husband sits on the board here. The daughter's in the play with us, and so it's kind of incestuous, yeah. But anyway, so she made the complaint, and now all of a sudden here we are today, where we can't do our play. We pushed back the date to April 12th. It was supposed to be this coming weekend, but we pushed it back to April 12th, hoping that Michelle will be back in time for this to happen for the play, because I'm not going to do the play without her.
And it seems like everyone's, kind of in the same boat on that. Could you speak to Michelle's character?
Oh, okay. So if you talk to anybody in our community about Michelle, this is a teacher that goes beyond what any other teacher does. Okay, Michelle stays here till 9 o'clock at night when the kids go home to make sure that they have costumes, make sure that they have it, and I stay with her. I sew costumes for her. We have some of the parents that come in and sew costumes with them. We just did Sister Act last year. We had to cut up costumes. Michelle stayed with me while we fixed the costumes for every kid. And she takes her kids to New York City to perform at Carnegie Hall. She makes sure the kids have access. So some of the kids have gone to Australia to perform there with them. And one is going to London this year. This is the kind of teacher she is. She goes beyond. She gives up time with her family. Yes, she gives up time away from her family to go to do all this stuff. Every summer we do a summer production. Her and I work together on everything. Over at Bridge Street Theater, we do a summer production every year. So she goes beyond. So for this to happen to her, it was like a slap in the face, because they didn't have the decency to come to her and talk to her about it. She got an email from them saying that don't come into the school. And who does that? Nobody does that.
I was told I couldn't come to the store either.
Yeah. And so it's amazing, because I've been here for so long. This is the third superintendent I've worked under. This is the first time we've ever had this amount of frustration from our community over our superintendent.
Have you spoken to Michelle since the suspension?
Yes.
How is she doing?
Michelle is frustrated. She can't go out of her house. She went to therapy. She's been going to therapy a lot because she's just distraught over this. I go and talk to her. She's crying all the time. I think it's horrible what they're doing to this person. This is somebody who, if you could look around and see, this community showed up for her. Not only today, but since this whole thing happened. Not just her, but the principal too. But she's the last one of the four that's been let go, in a sense. And this is like
over this one thing, or since the superintendent?
Superintendent, yeah, he's not good for our community.
That we know of.
Right.
So why?
My fiance was one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was given an email just like Mrs. Storrs, and the email said, "Don't come on school grounds. Do not contact any of your coworkers, any of your students, and their families." She's an E&L teacher here in this school, and she was forced to resign. February 29th was her last day.
What was the reason?
The reason was moral character, and anybody that you can ask anyone, her moral character is top notch. And we made a packet for the board that will read that from all her families, letters from every single one of her families. It has all of her
Kids and from coworkers.
from the kids, the co-workers, and her kids' families. Like, she's a minority teacher. Literally was run right out the door, and now these kids are getting on the wrong buses. Literally, her families, their families, the kids don't understand English.
Well, and we've done a lot of reporting on the shortage of E&L.
Yes.
To begin with, you know, you can't afford to lose anybody that.
No, and she's one of the ones that she literally moved here from the Bronx. She wanted to make this her home forever. She expected to retire from here, and that should be valued, and it wasn't. She opened up the Catskill room, which gives back to families in need in the community, and shortly after that, like 2 weeks later, she was given the email saying, "Don't come to it."
And what's your first and last name, if you don't mind?
And Brian Brian Duga.
Anything else I add that we made this year?
As to Michelle's character, and I thought we were part of the music parent group at the school, and remember for 8 years, monthly we have meetings. Michelle stays late for every one of those meetings with us. We organize a trip to Broadway for the kids every year. We supply meals for the kids. And she's also a Boy Scout leader. She also volunteers for so many different things. She's just such an amazing person, and we're just really all upset by this. But it we feel like out of all this darkness that's coming to light, all these other things are coming to light now, all these other issues that have been swept under the carpet by this administrator, and now we're finding out what's really happening.
Do we know why? The question I keep coming back to is why the principal Cha is back at work, but Michelle is not. We don't know.
That's
We
a
don't.
good question.
So I'm going in the superintendent's office last week, and he 2 days later said he was coming back to work.
We're ecstatic to have him back, but honestly, Mrs. Storrs came back at the same exact
Yeah,
time.
they didn't find anything that he did wrong, and the investigation must be over. But yet, Mrs. Storrs isn't back yet, so we don't know why.
We're fighting for all of them.
And we have a lot of
Every single one of them.
and we have a lot of witnesses, a whole room full of kids and him who can testify to what.
Even though you saw it, they haven't told you tonight yet.
This whole room of kids, they interviewed 7 of them, and we don't know what the outcome of that was because of the investigation, but they're not giving us any information on the investigation still, and obviously it must be over.
And now they're trying to cut our voices.
Yeah, I can't.
Now we don't know
I
who's
can't
going to be
either.
able to speak. They won't let Karen speak. We're not allowed to speak on the same topic.
And I was told by administration this week that I was not allowed to go to play practices anymore because I'm a non-parent for the students organization.
It's really important part to be there because what they do is when we rehearse late, the kids are tired, they bring snacks, they bring food, they come in, they help with costumes, they do all the stuff that we don't have paid people to come in and do. We need them there. We need all of them there. It's just so you know, this play not only affects the kids in the school, but our whole community. Our whole community takes place.
2 years by Proctor's for
We
best
take
play
the
and
kids
best
to
actor.
Proctor's every year to compete against all the other high schools and stuff in New York State. And so, but they play a big part in our play. Our whole community does. You know, I mean, from people doing the headshots, we have a local woman who does this photography, who donates her time and her talent. We have people, our local community, that bring food and help us get costumes and help us raise money and all that stuff. It's a community thing, so it's not just the high school that's affected. It's affecting the whole community. People look forward to this play every year. We have kids that come in.
People are trying to get the around the high school play. My daughter had to come home from college this weekend for the high school play.
Well, hey, thank you for your time. Julia, if you could just get a tight shot of their the pins that they're wearing. Do you guys have any more questions for him? You good? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to give you some more time. Cool. Thank you. You got it. No problem. I know that can be like.
Get your forearms straight.
Can I get a motion to return to session? Lenora, second Stephanie, all in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. We're back in session. Thank you everyone for being patient. We're now moving on to the superintendent's report. There's a lot of visitor recognition. It's on a non-agenda item, which is later in our program. We are going to get to you. We are trying to get through our official business as quickly as possible to give people time to speak. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. England. Welcome, everyone, for our superintendent's report this evening. I want to start off by congratulating the boys volleyball team, regional champs. I was lucky enough, give them a round of applause. I was lucky enough, I did not see the championship game, but I was lucky enough to go visit them in their playoff game against the Catskills, and they did a great job. So congratulations, team. Next, we want to congratulate Mia Gottsman for receiving the DAR Award for Good Citizenship. Congratulations, Mia. And then before I get to my presentation this evening, the next piece I would like to share with the board, I know I've emailed the board about this a few times, is the senior trip. So I was lucky enough to have a meeting with the officers of the senior class, and I met with them in my office with their advisor, and they presented to me their proposal for their senior trip. They did a great job. They discussed with me the survey that they gave their classmates, and the survey had a lot to do with finances. So they had 58 students respond, 53 students said they wanted to attend a senior trip, and then they had their price ranges for affordability. We had approximately 24 students out of the 53 say they could afford a trip between $400 and $500. So with sharing that data with me, I discussed that we would have to look for other options because the price ranges that they had given me for their proposal ranged anywhere from $576 and $608 per student, which was just not what the majority of the students said they could afford. So I gave them a couple different suggestions. They're working diligently with their advisor to come up with a new proposal for their senior trip. So hopefully we can have an update on that shortly, because we want the seniors to end their school year off with some type of special event trip. Next, tonight's budget presentation. So tonight's budget presentation is going to go through some budget updates, and then we're going to start off with the New York State District accountability data, because that data was released this past Thursday. So we, as always, start off with our district mission statement, followed by our vision statement, our agenda. Like I said, we're going to go through the New York State Accountability Report for Catskill Central School District, budget principles and priorities, foundation aid, tax cap, tax levy, estimated revenues, estimated expenditures, school improvement grant ending, budget deficit, and budget items that we are currently have under review. There we go. So we're going to start off with the Catskill High School performance report. So just to give an explanation of what these numbers mean is if you receive a 1 in the category, that means that you fall between 0 and 10% of all schools, high schools in New York State. If you receive a number 2, you're in the 10.1% to 50% of all high schools in New York State. A 3 is 50.1% to 75% of all schools in New York State. And then if you get a number 4, you're above 75%, the highest level for accountability. So what we do is we color coded it. So green means that's an increase from last school year. Red means that it's a decrease from last school year. So if you just look at the data that's presented, this all comes from the New York State report card. Like I said, that was released last week. That at Catskill High School, approximately half the data points are a 3, which is great, which means that we fall between 50.1% and 75% of all schools in New York State. On the other hand, half of our data points are 2s, which means that we fall between the 10.1% and 50% of all schools inside of New York State. Areas of decrease where we still need support is our academically disadvantaged students. If you notice, those are 2s across the board. So our academically disadvantaged students are struggling with their academic achievement, poor subject performance, chronic absenteeism, as well as graduation rate, and our students with disabilities as well. So our students with disabilities, the positive is that it has increased for weighted academic achievement from a 1 to a 2. On the flip side, our students with disabilities in the high school, chronic absenteeism has increased, and our graduation rate has decreased for those students. Next, we're going to move to Catskill Middle School. So I would like to say that on Monday, Principal Crowburn and Kosher celebrated with Catskill Middle School because it's the first time since 2011 that the middle school has been removed from the state accountability list. So they celebrated, they congratulated. They did a great job. It really builds on momentum and moving the school in the right direction. As you see by the data points that's presented, every category is a 2, except for one category. So every category is a 2, which means that in every category we fall between 10.1% and 50% of all middle schools inside of New York State. So congratulations to the middle school. And as you can see, there's still work to be done. So the PowerPoint presentation I'm going through is available on the school district website under the board doc, if you would like to follow along. The next slide is Catskill Elementary School. Catskill Elementary School mirrors Catskill Middle School with most categories falling in a 2. And as you also see, they've had no growth this past school year, only a decrease in accountability data. So all categories except for 3 are 2s, meaning that at Catskill Elementary School, we fall between the 10th percentile and 50th percentile of all elementary schools in New York State. I would say the gleaming, shining piece here is our English language learners. We have consistently done an amazing job of our English language learners at the elementary school over the past, I would say, 10 years, and that trend had continued with those scores that are provided, which are in the top 25% of all elementary schools in New York State. So, like I said, that's an area that we want to grow on right now. So, the final slide is our district. This is sort of what I alluded to earlier. If you look all the way to the left, for the 2023 overall accountability list, we were considered a TD, which is a target district from New York State. And then if you look at the middle school, it says ATSI school. So if you look on the key ATSI schools, additional target support and improvement. So because the middle school was identified as an ATSI school last school year, the district is then identified as a target school district. If you look under the 2024 overall score, all columns are LSI, which is local support and improvement. So those are all schools that are getting no supportive interventions by New York State. So why are we discussing this today? The reason why it's being discussed today is, as I said earlier, kudos to the middle school. But now that we are off of this, we no longer receive our school improvement grant. So now we have budgetary concerns based on the loss of the funds that we were receiving from this grant. So as we move into the budget presentation, you'll see an update from the last time we met with the loss of it's called the 6th grant, school improvement grant. So once again, how are we going to adjust that in our budget for next school year? Does anyone have any questions about the school accountability data before we move forward? No questions? Next, budget forecast. So this is our second budget forecast. This evening, I will be presenting with some support from Ms. Gillette, our business manager. First, our budget timeline. Just one slight change to our budget timeline. Today, we were supposed to be presenting on budget recommendation presentation number 1. That is being pushed out to the next budget meeting, and the purpose of that is because, as I presented at the last meeting, this is a very tough budget season with the loss of the amount of state aid that has decreased and the loss of a few different grants. So because of the sensitivity of that matter and the detail of the process that we're going through in making budgetary recommendations for next school year, we just needed more time. We just weren't ready. We weren't ready to share the recommendations, and I'll get into more reasons for that as we move forward. The budget principles and priorities. This is just to remind you, we went over this at the last meeting, right? Number one is always fiscal responsibility for our community. And then we focus in on educational programming as a whole, what academic supports we can put in place, academic enrichment, extracurricular activities, which include field trips. So we sort of are looking at all these areas as we're going through the budget cycle currently to ensure that we create the best program and the best school environment for our kids. So once again, this is a review on foundation aid. Like I said last time, the governor's proposal to remove the Save Harmless Act, which allowed us, not based on the calculation, to stay at a certain level of foundation aid. Like I said, she removed that from this current budget cycle, and based on that calculation, our school district is losing $610,490 in foundation aid for this upcoming school year. The next slide is our tax levy. So remember the tax cap formula. We have to take the consumer price index, which this year the CPI was 4.12%. Since that number is over 2%, we are maxed out at getting a 2% calculation. Based on that calculation, our tax cap levy, without having to go to a supermajority, is 2.65%. So that 2.65% equals $548,801. So that number in the second bullet is new, is that number of 548,801 does not cover the loss of just foundation aid. So just to make up the loss of foundation aid, we would have to look at a tax levy of 2.94%, which we need a supermajority vote. So I'm recommending to the board that we look at increased tax levy at the 2.65%, which would not go to the supermajority vote, and that we would have to be very strategic and intentional with what decisions we make moving forward in the budget cycle to support our programming here at the schools. So once again, very similar slide from last time. So one shift that we made was for the use of money and property. So this came from a recommendation from the school board. We were very conservative with the amount of revenues that we bring in via our investments through the business office. And the biggest business office is projected this school year at approximately $800,000 to $900,000 in revenues, which they did a great job. So what we decided to do was increase that amount that we projected for the following school year to $625,000. And the purpose of that is actually to make up for the funds lost via the loss of our SIG grant. So since we're losing our SIG grant money, which is approximately $125,000, when we went back into the budget, we were just less conservative in the money that we're projecting that we're going to bring in revenues. As everyone knows, interest rates are high, but they're not projected to stay high. We're not sure how long it's going to stay there for. So we still want to be somewhat conservative, but like I said, we feel comfortable moving it up to that amount. This is our expenditures. Like I said, we added in the last column all the way to the right, which is including the SIG grant. So just a quick recap. Our first column is our budget this year. The second column is our just complete rollover budget. So we take our budget from this year and just roll it over. And that's increases in just contractual expenses. And then what we decided is because the ARP funds are ending this year, we added in the ARP funds. So if we want to keep the programs exactly what they are now based on our funding, we would have to look at those funds as well. And that's approximately $1 million that we will no longer be getting because the COVID relief funds are ending for next school year. And then, like I said, we added it this time to add our SIG grant money to that because now we're no longer going to be receiving that. So just based on expenditures, for our current program with grant funds added, we are at a deficit of $2,778,778 is our deficit for expenditures, just based on contractual obligations, ARP funds, and sick grant. So when we compare, or we add in, we take our revenues and we bring that into our expenditures, including the SIG, we are at a complete shortfall of $3,153,912. So that is the budget deficit that we're working on closing this budget cycle. Like I said earlier, this is a very large task to take on. It's much different than anything our communities had to deal with in the past. The last few years with the American Relief Fund via COVID, we did have a lot of extra money coming in through state and federal grants. That is not the case. Those things are ending. So tough decisions are going to have to be made. And hence why I said earlier that we're not prepared to completely roll that out yet. We're still going through a process of meeting with administrators and unions to sort of work out to close this deficit of $3.1 million. So budget items under review. So these current positions that I want to share, these are the conversations we're having a lot of right now. So the columns on the left are all of current unfilled positions. Right? We have an unfilled maintenance mechanic, cleaner, RTI math teacher, special education teacher, Spanish teacher, 2 teaching assistants, a teacher aide, and 3 administrative positions. So all these are being looked at very closely to see are they needed, are they not needed, how does that affect programming for our students. We also have retirements and resignations for June already coming in. So that is 4 elementary tenured area positions, 3 teaching assistants, 1 secondary science position, and 1 special education position. So like I said, these are, I call them positions under review because we have not made a decision. These are just openings that we have, that we know we're going to have, that we're sort of looking at with a fine-tooth comb to see how does this affect programming in the different buildings, the supports that we can provide our students, what's mandated, what's not mandated, so that we can make an informed decision on what we're doing moving forward. And then additional budget items that are still under review. Building budgets, we've been meeting with the building administrator about the individual building budgets. I believe that Mr. Like is having a 3rd round meeting with them individually at the end of this week. Final state aid figures, there's a lot of lobbying that's happening at the Capitol in regards to foundation aid, trying to get the return of foundation or some return on foundation aid. I know all unions are supportive in that mission of returning at least some of the foundation aid to us to give us a little bit of relief. Property tax levy I discussed today. Enrollment study, remember a few weeks ago or a month and a half ago, I presented on our enrollment study that we completed in our community for our student body. So we're taking a close look at that enrollment study to try to make predictions moving forward in some of these aspects of programming. Our BOCES services requests, we're about 3/4 of the way through that. We want to finalize that before the end of this week, we're hoping. Like I said earlier, staffing needs projections, programs and support reviews. I know, especially at the high school, you're looking at kids going to BOCES programs, going to college prep programs. So we're looking at those to see where our numbers fall, to see what we need for class sizes and things of that nature. Transportation costs, we have still not finalized our transportation issue for next school year. So hopefully once those RFPs start coming in, we have a better idea of what our transportation costs are going to look like, and increase in healthcare. On the flip side, on monies that we have coming in, looking at our different grants, state and federal grants, and how we can leverage those. As I presented a few meetings ago, we were very lucky and blessed to get the Stronger Connections grant. which is a good chunk of money that will help support this deficit that we're working in, to still keep a level of support, especially social emotional support, that we know our students need. And I always go in the caveat that ARP funds technically end September 30th. So as we're planning, we're looking at how those ARP funds can be leveraged in the summertime while we still have access to it before we lose access to those ARP funds. So any questions from the board?
I think that there's a lot, I can't hear it very well, but so the total shortfall, I mean, that's like worst case scenario? Like, if
I think it's very close to worst case scenario. I would say that the biggest projections that could hurt that is if we get over, I would say, a 35% increase in transportation costs. I think that could be a big hit if that number comes back to us that high. Any other questions about the budget? All right. So that is the end of the superintendent's report. Back to you, sir.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item E1, which is acceptance of the agenda. I get a motion to accept the agenda as presented. Jennifer, second. Lenora, all in favor? Opposed? Agenda is accepted. We'll move on to item E2, which is acceptance of the settlement agreement. Ready discussion by the board on the settlement agreement? Can I get a motion to accept the settlement agreement? Mary, second. Stephanie, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we're going to speed run through the consent agenda so we can get through the discussion. Consent agenda starts with item F1, which is approval of minutes from prior board meetings. It's also including item F2, which is acceptance of the settlement agreement. That agreement is for the permanent repair contract. We've come to an agreement and a settlement with the contractors that caused the issues that we've been experiencing on the upper field at the middle school. That work is slated to take place in April, and after that, we should have a fully functional field for next season. It does cause some dislocation of our track team for this spring, and we're working on alternate arrangements for them, but we're hopeful that this is a permanent repair. Item F3 is acceptance of the treasurer's report. F4 is approval of transportation contracts. F5 is approval of health and welfare contracts. Item F6 is our agreement with the town of Catskill over the use of Rick Kramer Athletic Field. 7 is approval of the intermunicipal agreement. Item F8 is acceptance of a donation from CHPE LLC, which is a generous donation of $1,000 to help support our Catskill room here in the elementary school. We also received a donation from the Sullivan Teeter VFW Pro 770, which was calling out crayons and school supplies for the Catskill room. We had approval of the CSEA memorandum of agreement. This is really reclassifying some of the positions that we have on the books to better align with newer job skills and newer job titles. Item F11 is the establishment of those positions. Item F12 is approval of obsolete and surplus equipment. Item F13 is approval and the second reading of a number of board policies, all of which are attached on board docs if people wish to review them. This includes policy 6231, which is allocation of our Title I funds, 6232, maintenance of fiscal effort, 6700, purchasing, 6700.1, which is competitive bidding and quotations, 6705, which is procurement, 6710, purchasing authority, and 6751, which is use of federal funds for political expenditures. Then we're on to F14, which is acceptance of CSE, CPSE recommendations for 2024. Item F15 is acceptance of 504 recommendations for 24-25. Item F16 is acceptance of CSE, CPSE recommendations for 24-25. And item F17 is acceptance of additional 504 recommendations for 23-24. Also included in consent is our personnel consent, which is item G1. Of note, we have a couple teachers retiring at the end of close of business of 6/30/24, which is Kathleen Campbell and Mary Jo Bertucci from elementary school. There's a number of other individual appointments, and we have Melody Lasher is leaving our district as our district treasurer as a business. And at a March, Cheryl Sinati is leaving as well. We have some non-professional appointments and leave of absences. This is one of the peculiarities of the way the world works in bureaucracy. So in order for our people to take those new positions that we created with the CSEA, we have to actually have them take a leave from their old position and accept the new position. So Don Reno is going to become the Director of Informational Technology. Ethan Curtis is now going to be a Network Systems Engineer. Congratulations, folks. We have a few extracurricular appointments. One is going to be Boys and Girls Modified Track Coach. Jeff Workman is going to be a parent volunteer for varsity girls softball. Tran is the boys varsity track coach. And some instructional, non-instructional substitute appointments. John Sutton, Caitlin Neary, Sarah Davies. And then for teaching assistant, Catherine Matthews, and substitute teacher, John Pinder. And short-term middle school science substitute is Brian Bowman. That is the entirety of the consent agenda. Any discussion on any topics within consent? No. Joe? Board recognizes Mr. Izzo.
Sorry, everybody. Put it back when I'm done. Anyway, the reason I wanted to say something is Mary Jo, who's retired. I wish to congratulate her. I don't want to let you know how old I am, but Mary Jo's mother and father were classmates of mine in high school. And I would love to recognize her and her achievements in the high school. And I'm sure there's a lot of students out there that recognize her expertise and her music aptitude. So Mary Jo, congratulations. Thank you.
All right. Make a motion to accept the consent agenda. Stephanie, second. Mary, all in favor? Opposed? Consent agenda is carried. We're moving on to item I, which is board reports. Finance and Audit Committee did meet with the auditors today to get the draft of our 2023 single audit that will be on the next board meeting for approval. Everything was unmodified. Are there any other committee reports from members?
Is this working? I'm going to report on 2 school events and 2 board committee meetings that were held since our last board meeting. I'm a member of the elementary PTA, and we had 2 PTA events since our last meeting. The first one I'd like to talk about is the elementary school Big and Small Fall, which is held February 9th. It was amazing. This was a brand new PTA event for grades pre-K through third grade. It was so successful that we plan to hold it every year. The big and small part of the ball refers to students who each come with one parent or guardian. And the event was a semi-formal ball held in the cafeteria. And everyone was all dressed up, they were so cute. There were 450 people who attended this event, and so there were approximately 200 students, 200 parents, over 30 parent volunteers, and many high school student volunteers. So half the parent volunteers had never volunteered before, so this was a highly successful family engagement event. Dinner was provided. It was ziti, salad, drinks, and bread and butter. There was a photo booth, face painting, crafts, DJ, dancing, and balloons. And there were gifts for the students like those snap-on bracelets. High school students helped with photography and music, and they did a fabulous job. So it all went very smoothly, and everyone had so much fun. The other event I'm going to talk about is the elementary PTA event, the Winter Carnival, held on March 2nd. It was also held in this room. Thanks to so many PTA members and middle and high school student volunteers, the event was a great success. Approximately 300 to 400 people came through the doors and played games, won cakes at the cakewalk, and each child who attended went home with lots of prizes. This is a great event for elementary school families, and it did not disappoint. I would personally like to recognize all the teachers, administrators, staff, parents, and students who worked so hard for the PTA event. I would especially like to recognize the president of the elementary PTA, teacher Nicole McAleen, who gives so much to the PTA. To help our students. Then we had two recent board committee meetings. One was the policy committee held on March 1st, and we discussed these policies. Weighted class ranking, complaints about school personnel, student wellness, workplace violence prevention, personnel goals, attendance, and safe schools. Then there was the board's health and safety committee meeting, which was held on March 7th. We covered the following: an update on health and safety policies from the BOCES rep who attended, emergency preparedness, facility inspections and maintenance, and safety suggestions and concerns. Thank you.
I don't believe there's any other board reports, I just want to double check. Okay, we'll move on to item J1, which is the discussion of the 2024-2025 draft school calendar. I know Dr. Wilson has shared a calendar with the board for the proposed 24-25 school year based upon the New York State regional schedule and other factors. Is there any discussion around the calendar as presented?
So when you just look at the calendar, there's a couple of things to point out that are shifts. Is trying to get the pull up here, it's not pulling up. But the last week in January 29th, it's going to be different this year because that's going to be the Lunar New Year. And New York State says that the Lunar New Year is a now celebrated holiday in which we do not have instruction. So that is known as a non-instructional day. And that is based on the Chinese calendar, so it changes every year. So this year was the 15th of February, I believe it was. But next year it falls on January 29th, which is a shift. And to get all of our school days in, it will be another late end of the school year all the way to June 27th. This is actually 2 years in a row where the calendar falls very late, where school will be ending the last week of June.
I wouldn't say part of this, I'd say the school reaches out until the 25th, so part of this is, unfortunately, our, I'd say that department.
Okay, I have a question about the calendar. Would it help us if we did the remote snow days and counted them as school days, which the state allows? Would that help our challenges?
Well, my concern is we're using remote days as snow days, is accessibility to internet and computers for our families. Not all of our families have accessibility to internet on those days, and I believe the state says if you don't have 50% participation, then it doesn't count. So I think the structures that we have in place are not there yet for that. And it would also have to be acknowledged, it's not, even though in our school district, every classroom has a Chromebook card, students do not bring Chromebooks home with them on a daily basis. So those would be some shifts that we would have to take place prior to putting in something of having snow days, not having snow days, and using those days as remote days. That would have to shift.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to move on to visitor recognition. I just have a brief statement just to remind people of some of the ground rules before we get started. The Catskill Central School District Board of Education welcomes public comments from those who are pre-registered with the district clerk. Please keep your remarks concise with a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. In the event that time runs out or we're unable to accommodate all comments, we encourage individuals to leave a written copy of their statement for the clerk, who will ensure that all members of the board receive it. When addressing the board, please state your name and provide your contact information to the district clerk for follow-up. While the board may not respond immediately to individual comments, rest assured that matters brought to our attention will be duly considered for future response, action, or follow-up. Any concerns pertaining to specific district students or staff should be communicated privately to the superintendent of schools to uphold privacy protocols. The board reserves the right to include a speaker's comments if they exceed the time limit, become repetitive, or deemed inappropriate for an open public forum. We remind all visitors to adhere to the district's code of conduct and maintain respect and courtesy as both speakers and audience members. As a community committed to enhancing public education for our students, some of whom may be independents, we appreciate your cooperation. The first speaker tonight is Mr. Holliday.
Can you hear? No, it's not on. I'm usually loud enough, but all right. My name is Jeff Holliday. I'm a resident of the village of Catskill, live on Willis Avenue. I'm here tonight. First of all, good evening. Lieutenant Wilson. I'm here tonight to express the community support for the class. Hello. I ain't doing anything here. All right, that's better. I'm here tonight to express the community support for the best 2024 senior trip. Plan has become critical in the initiative. I respectfully request that you be to walk on agenda item tonight. The senior class trip is a common tradition afforded to the members of the graduating class to provide the students with an opportunity to celebrate their academic achievements and memorialize their pending graduation. It's an opportunity to create a lifelong memory, and while doing so as a collective group one last time. Since the start of the high school year, this class of 2024, better known as the COVID class, has faced every possible challenge to throw at one, and they've met all of these challenges head on. Academically, this class has excelled with greater than 65% of the students achieving quarterly academic goals. They did their best to fundraise at a time when the world was 6 feet apart and social interaction was stifled. Yet they managed to do so or not, all with the goal of having a year-end celebration in their senior year that would culminate in a trip that would allow them to broaden their horizons. As a general rule, school trips should have an educational purpose to support learning outcomes, while a senior class trip is more celebratory. With that in mind, the class of 2024 decided on a trip that is bold. They selected a trip that some of the residents never had an opportunity to again enjoy. Their choice of arranging capital while in BC on May 10th. But the moment that everyone on board or in fact in this room tonight has been to the National Archives to see firsthand our nation's original founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. They had a chance here for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to tour the Hill and see the Capitol firsthand. With our congressional representative, Mark Mulner, district president, they had an opportunity for an independence tour. The students will be able to see historic monuments on the National Mall as well as some of the best museums in the world that the Smithsonian has to offer. This trip is not a wasteful visit to an amusement park or an inconsequential venture, but it gave you a once-in-a-lifetime incredible educational experience. The itinerary already changed for that final day, removing the added expense of the tour of the aquarium in Baltimore, and instead replaced with a baseball game between the Baltimore Orioles and the Arizona Diamondbacks. The cost of the tickets has been underrated. There will be no cost to the students to attend this game. Committed to volunteer chaperones. My son doesn't want me to go, but I would gladly go if it gets him there. The senior class continues to fundraise one of the lessons of the bird and the entire trip, underwriting and solicited as we speak, all the whole day trip as inexpensive as possible. I would like to get during 4 years, I've been around the same trip, participated in the group fundraising, and upon being sure that everyone wants to go. Despite that, the overall goal is to have every member interested go on this trip, and the students who have fundraising are going to share credit dollars with those who do not have them, all to make the president. Now it's time to come up the essence as commitments and confirmations of charities need to be made very soon to ensure that these kids get the most beneficial opportunity possible. I respect the SCCSD board of education to take action and finally get a class, the COVID class, a win. If the same board can allow CHS class in 2023 to fly to Florida, I'm sure that we can find a way to allow these kids to travel to West Washington.
Thank you, Judy. The next speaker is Ron Ciannelli.
We're going to make sure, because if not, I'll speak out loud. Okay. So before any timer starts, I would like to first of all appeal to the Board of Education to please allow us more time than 3 minutes. The sheer number of turnout people here today did take more time to be allowed for commentary. And we ask the board to read the room and act accordingly. You have the power to make changes there, so we kindly request that you do that. My speech is
They're just
yeah. So all right. I'll try. Hello, test. Test.
Can you clear without it?
Test. Okay. So I kindly appeal to the board that we allow extra minutes. As I said, my speech was read and sort of co-written by over 50 people. So I think I represent a lot of people in the room. I would like to at least double that time to 6 minutes. Going to be time we appeal. Huh? Okay, let everyone understand that, okay, including the meeting. No, I'm not going to speak through this. May I read something that will hopefully try to bring the room together before I read my speech? I think you understand that there's quite a bit of agitation. I would like to try to quell that.
It's in here 3 minutes. You need to proceed.
Wow, okay. Very good, all right.
Come on.
No, that's okay. It's okay. First of all, there are objections. My wife signed on. She's the first person to sign on, and we were told now we can't overlap on topics. That sounds ridiculous to us.
I would ask you to please speak a little slowly so that I can understand.
You have the power to extend my time. I'll have to speak very. Speak quickly to try to get it out.
No. I'm not saying you shouldn't speak. All I'm asking you to is speak a little slower. So that I can get.
But I'm limited to 3 minutes. I can't do that in 3 minutes. Well, let us start.
Thank you very much.
The board's accountability is ultimately to the community. A petition containing over 2,000 signatures has already been handed to the board, indicating that large numbers of people in the Catskill community fear that the superintendent has been unjustly targeting teachers, creating a hostile work environment by bullying and targeting teachers into resignations to further his strong-armed agenda while insulating himself from his actions by creating new administrative positions to keep evidence of his aggressive bullying at arm's length. The community believes he has created a campaign of terror, forcing as many as 9 teachers to be fired, put on administrative leave, leaving the district, or being psychologically terrorized into resigning. The Catskill community has rallied multiple times in response to an investigation affecting a school principal and abusing teachers. The community's investigations into the matter, many staff members have spoken out against the superintendent's strong-arm bullying tactics, both in his personal hands as well as those of his recent appointees. We have a long list of people that are willing to testify as to the superintendent's delinquent actions, but they fear his wrath and retribution, which of course only further corroborates the effectiveness of the superintendent's terror campaign. However, these witnesses would be happy to testify against the superintendent if they can be guaranteed their jobs will be protected. Dear board, your superpower is that you can call for your own investigations. It is for this reason that I have been calling for over a week now for the Catskill board to launch their own investigation into the actions of the superintendent. Additionally, we hope the board does not accept the superintendent's investigations as fact and launch their own investigations into recent cases. If the board can protect the testimony of these whistleblowing staff members, we can provide them with a list of affected witnesses, and I am confident that many more will step forward. Which takes us to the next issue. We believe there's a lack of confidence in the membership and participation of some board members. We, the community, believe that most of the board membership is acting honorably in accordance with the ethics and rules and guides their duties. We do, however, fear that some board members may have been compromising integrity. I will hand in copies of my speech to go over those points. The board needs to investigate and act on these and other matters immediately and vote out any members if board rules are being broken. The community recognizes that having a compromised board could create a catch-22 situation whereby the very board that is needed to investigate the superintendent is also compromised. It is for this reason that Catskill community members suspecting the situation have filed notices to the official New York State agencies such as NYSED and the Attorney General's office. If the board does not fulfill its duties in ensuring its members are without compromise, then I'm certain that its higher authorities will take action. In the meantime, we hope the board will investigate itself and ask the board to publicly answer the following questions. There are 7. I will submit those. I'm going to cut out a lot here, but it will be in my handed-in speech. I have a copy for everyone. This community wants the superintendent's resignation. Please do the honorable thing and resign. Catskill board, we in the community that you represent will not be betrayed, and we wish you to launch an investigation into complaints of the bullying tactics initiated and fostered by the superintendent. Neither the community, the teachers, or for that matter, senior students have confidence that this superintendent can lead us any longer. I will submit 9 copies immediately.
and call Andrew Holiday.
Good evening, members. No, it's, there we go. Let's see. Good evening, members of the Board of Education. I stand before you today to speak on the most important topic within the district, the students. I'm the class president for the current class of 2024, and I speak on behalf of a vast majority of the student body here at Catskill to inform you that we are dissatisfied with the acting administration and are losing hope for the coming generations of students as they too will have to endure. Many of you have children currently enrolled in the Catskill Central School District, and many of you are parents to Catskill alumni. My hope is that in recent events, you all have been able to see the kind of rippling effects situations within the district have on the students. The word dissatisfied is an understatement. We are outraged. In surveying a variety of students, there has been a common theme in their responses. Many students are unaware of who the CCSD superintendent is or what he even looks like, and that is because he is not invested in the students, nor is he invested in the community. Former Superintendent Dr. Ron L. Cook led the students in the homecoming parade, spoke at the MLK March for Peace and Justice, and walked alongside students daily on their way home from school to ensure they were crossing the street properly. Where is that admirable leadership and care gone? Through the acting appointment of the superintendent, we no longer feel like we are being put first. As students in this district, we have the right to a good education, which we have been provided by the wonderful staff here at Catskill, and we deserve to be put first. Our working taxpayers spending sometimes thousands of dollars on this district need to know that their hard-earned money is benefiting the students, not only the administration. We feel that the administration is failing us, and it's simply because we are not the top priority. Changes within the district need to happen, and they need to happen soon. There are some extremely intelligent members on this board, so I present you with this. Take Newton's cradle, for example, and think about how when you release one pendulum on one side, it sets the next side into motion. There are sides to this board, we're aware of that. We are calling on just one of you to be that swinging pendulum. Set the rest of this board in motion and make those changes within our district happen. Put the students first, not the administration.
I am the proud president of the Catskill Teachers Association. The Catskill Teachers Association is concerned about the direction of this great district. Educators have been on the front lines dealing with the impacts of high turnover due to low morale and the lack of strong, consistent district leadership. We've consistently been there every step of the way for our students, supporting them educationally and emotionally. And we have remained unwavering in our mission to make Catskill Central School District the best educational experience possible for every student and every family. We have welcomed new educators, new administrators, new support staff, and new initiatives to support improvements in the school. But our efforts as educators are in vain when the climate is actively working against us. Now veteran teachers are making the very difficult decision to leave Catskill when they thought that this would be their forever home. Just last week, CTA said goodbye to a teacher who had worked in this district for 20 years and wanted nothing more than to remain on to help her students. Other teachers planning to retire within the next few years are deciding to go now. Our young and vibrant teachers, who are valuable assets that we want to remain here working with the students of Catskill, are discussing leaving. This speaks volumes about the current climate and culture at Catskill Central School District and the lack of support we are receiving as educators. Can't flip and hold. We know the community is behind us. Our fellow residents have supported our school budgets and invested in the district's future. In return, we expect our leadership to use that investment to provide a safe, welcoming, and supportive environment for teaching and learning. I want to send a heartfelt thank you to those in the community and on this board who have come out to support us. Catskill Teachers Association is working to ensure our members are always provided due process to be able to do the job we love. And we urge you to do everything in your power to uphold this justice. According to the district's website, our district prides itself on providing a broad array of educational experiences and extracurricular opportunities designed to challenge students to reach their fullest potential. These objectives and values should guide our work as an education community. We will do our part to uphold these standards. We ask only that you do yours. We urge the board to hear Catskill students, educators, and the entire community. Our district should be in the news for great things that we do, not the turmoil caused by ineffective leadership. We cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. If the district changes nothing, nothing will change. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tommy Mudge. My wife Christine and I live in Catskill Central School District, and our daughter is a junior here at Catskill High School. My daughter was allegedly the victim of harm by one of your staff members. I won't go into detail, namely. And interview witnesses before calling for an ambulance and seeing that the victim is safely taken to the hospital. To be clear, I am not suggesting in any way that my daughter was actually harmed. She was not. She was not harmed at all. That is the point. She has said it from the beginning, we have said it, and the superintendent knows it. After my wife and I learned of the situation, we requested to meet with the superintendent. We had to ask to meet with him. It took 10 days and multiple requests before we finally were able to get that meeting. In that meeting, the superintendent admitted to my wife and I that he had not called the CPS hotline, as required as a mandated reporter. The superintendent stated he had filed a Part 83 form to inform the state of possible mistreatment by an employee. If the superintendent didn't think it was harmful enough to call the CPS hotline or the parents of the child, how could it be harmful enough to go after the jobs of 2 exemplary employees? I am requesting that the Catskill Central School District Board of Education suspend the superintendent immediately. And all the things that lead to this pattern. Luckily, there was no actual maltreatment of a child this time. But what happens if, God forbid, the next time a child is mistreated and the superintendent is busy building a case instead of taking care of that child? Thank you.
That concludes the public comment for this evening. If anybody has not got to it, let's just leave this thing forward.
Let us speak!
So, or do you want to allow one more comment?
Yes, one more. Yes, one more.
Is there a motion to allow one more comment?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Yeah. I did not. Who at the end was in favor?
They're all in favor.
Can I have a microphone, please? Oh, we need a microphone.
We need a microphone. You guys have a microphone?
No, I need a microphone.
Right here?
We know. You've made it very clear. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexandra Hallam, and I'm a junior at Catskill High School. I'm playing Cinderella in our school musical this year, and behind me are the members of the cast and crew. My cast and crewmates and I are supposed to be putting on our production in 2 nights. We should be in heavy rehearsal at this very moment. Instead, we are here promoting what we believe is good and fair. While I appreciate the school I go to, I have never been more disgusted at a collection of actions in my life. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself and my fellow castmates and crew members of the 2024 school musical. Quoting a castmate, we have been working hard to make this show spectacular so people have the chance to see it. These past weeks, the cast has felt lost, stressed, and tired. Me and my castmates love the show and hope everything can be put together nicely and soon, end quote. Another said, I feel that we are a bunch of young people who truly care about putting on a show that we've been working on for months, end quote. Finally, from a senior, unlike other years, I have never been in a show where we feel so unprepared and lost. Yes, we are working on our own, but that doesn't mean we aren't struggling. I worry every night for how the show might not happen. We need to save this show, end quote. This musical is more than kids on a stage. This is the reason a lot of us come to school every day. As the representative of the musical today, I absolutely refuse to let the cast and crew down. We are a family and we will stand with each other. This includes our director. We cannot do this battle without her. We will not stop fighting until our battle is won, and we refuse to lose. Thank you.
Executive session person for comment related to the employment of individuals. Stephen, or all in favor? Sure.
I didn't get a chance to commend Mia. Mia, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. Mrs. Mia Gostin. Mia was awarded a DAR, as the superintendent indicated. That is a very prestigious award. The Daughter of American Revolution is a great organization, and I speak very highly of her and her commitment to her work. And everyone here should understand that our country is built on freedom and expression of speech, and Mia exemplifies that. And I'd like to congratulate her and thank her very much. Thank you very much.
There's a person who witnessed it besides hearsay.
Do we have a vote on executive session? All in favor? We're going to be moving into executive session. That concludes the public portion of our meeting. Is there any further action to be taken when we return? Thank you all for coming out.
What about the senior trip?
What about Mrs. Moore?
We would like that to be
What
voted
about
on.
scores?
What about the board members?
Anyone going to speak in favor?